Things will definitely happen in life that will be a kind of burden to you. They might keep you awake at night. You might find that your thoughts, you're always thinking about those things, and you're drawn to it, and you are uncomfortable. You feel you get the nudge that there's something about this. Whether it's just by curiosity, interest, even just mere dissatisfaction with the way things are going. It could be about a project, about an event, about the process, just something. Oftentimes, people who are drawn to concerns like this, who have a drive, who seek change, will be challenged. First thoughts will tell you, no, you're not qualified to embark on this adventure. Thoughts might tell you, no, nobody will listen to you, nobody will believe you. Thoughts might even tell you to give up before you start. Okay. And in my own experience, I remember some years back when I became interested in growing awareness about autism. It was just this whole, concerns around what I was observing. I was finishing up a graduate program at University of Lagos in psychology, and began working with Dr. Helen Wanze, she's a speech pathologist and therapist, and also a developmental psychologist. She wears like multiple professional hats. But she was also just training parents and training tutors, training behavior therapists, training people to learn the skills they could use to improve the lives and conditions of persons and families living with autism. And that was, when my interest, maybe interest got sustained, but it's also just my worries about the possibility that there may be people with this condition in different parts of the country. Okay, so the more we worked, the more we saw the cases and implemented the protocols and the behavior change treatment plans, the more we saw results, we saw improvements. I found out, oh, okay, so it looks like we have a technology that should be shared. We have a treatment technology that could be shared. So myself and many of my contemporaries and peers, colleagues, began to sort of think of other ways to innovate what we're doing, and to spread the good news that there is hope. Okay, so I remember I remember being invited by a doctor in maybe he was a member of the guild. Anyway, well, we will not mention names, but a member of a big association of medical professionals and entrepreneurs. So I had gone to talk about my observations and experiences with autism, and somebody was a little infuriated, didn't like what maybe something about what I said or what I had said at the time, and just said, "No, stop deceiving the people. I saw you on television. I saw you on radio. I heard you on the radio. You were writing about these things, and you're panicking the people." I said, "Oh, no, help me understand how, because that's not my intention. I was hoping that, if people can identify a problem, then they will look for solutions. There's a bigger problem when you have no clue, when you do not even know what's going on. But if we do know, if we have a name for something, then you can begin to understand it. So you name it, you identify it, you study it. Okay, so you look at what you probably knew about it, what has been done in the past, what could be done anyway. So he said autism was not in Nigeria at the time. That statement did not go down with me. And that statement became one of my biggest motivation forces. One of the things that inspired me the most. Not just to prove that autism was in Nigeria, but to prove that autism treatment can be made available in Nigeria. Okay, so I collaborated with other people, service providers, parents, and all that. So started organizing events, roadworks, public awareness events, taking up interviews, taking with the press, delivering press releases, and from time to time, commemorating events like the April 2nd World Autism Awareness Day. Pursuing legislative opportunities. Finding, networking with some people in the legislature, National Assembly. Sending letters. I remember. The then Speaker, Senate President David Mark, would literally acknowledge every single letter I write to him, and pledging the support of the Senate, the willingness of the Senate to support in any way they can to ensure that things change. In fact, there was even an introduction, a bill for autism that was introduced in the House of Rep, I believe, by Honorable Jerry Alaboso. The bill, and some other people who sort of tried to make a difference in that way. The bill did progress to, I believe, first, second, and third reading. I don't know. It didn't go beyond that, and I haven't had much on the outcome since then. But I guess my main point is that ideas will come to your heart to motivate you to take actions, to make a difference. Don't just sit down and say, I'm not in a leadership position. I'm not, no, I wasn't even in a leadership position. I didn't even have funding. I didn't even know how it was going to work. I had an idea that you could set up a nonprofit, okay, and then utilize that platform and launch out, okay. And I had a service. I was consulting, and we had like associates, and who were also doing their consultation in that level. But so when we make money from our work, we apply. There were a few individuals, organizations who came to our aid from time to time. Gratitude to the Punuka Foundation. Gratitude. I would always remain grateful to Chief Anthony Dibwe and his amazing, awesome wife, Chief Mrs. Lizzie Dibwe. They were always there, always supporting. Always, they believed in what we were doing, and they supported in different parts of Nigeria. Going to organizing seminars and conferences and things like that. But anyway, so back to the point. When you feel moved by something, when an issue is coming to your mind, maybe it is you're angry about how INEC conducts its affairs, you're not happy about how the police works, you're frustrated by just how the transportation systems work, or just any aspect of life that you feel burdened by. Do not minimize your potential, your ability to move the needle an inch, to make a difference. Even if it's just getting someone else to talk about it. Even if it's just building up a community. I recently wrote to a small group to suggest that, listen, we in Nigeria, for example, have identified that every electoral process, every election has been marred by factors that revolve around a triad, the triad of law enforcement, INEC officials, and the election tribunal. Now you have identified the power, if you like, these are the people who decide the future of Nigeria. Law enforcement, because they are usually the people who are there to make sure that the votes are not stolen or that ballot boxes are not removed. INEC officials, because of course they are the one who organize it, who plan, who collate results, publish, and all of that. And tribunals, because after the elections and there are issues, that's usually where they go. People have their hope on what the tribunals will do. Now, the job of anybody that is burdened by the electoral process should be to focus their focus on these three institutions. Have a 4-year plan, 5-year plan, 7-year, 10-year plan on how, as citizens, can we move the needle an inch. The miracle, we call it miracle in Abia State. The thing that happened in Abia State in the last election was just because one woman, the electoral commissioner, decided she was going to do the right thing. One person. Look at what's happening in Abia State. I mean, we're grateful for the governor, his insights and wisdom and whatever, But he wouldn't even be there if that lady had gone the other way. The things we are seeing in Abia State in terms of infrastructure and performance may not have happened. Why? Because that singular act by this lady removed the pressures of godfatherism. It means the governor could function. And anybody that has any little understanding of the setup, the political setup in Nigeria and how it works, and all the, hierarchy of influences, that most of these guys, they have hands that are tied. They don't quite have, even the very good guys, when they get into positions, they get stuck in the system. So it's not really the individual, it's the system. So I'm saying that if you find that you're worried about electoral process and election results and things like that, how do we improve relationship between the police and the masses? Is this possible for to sort of create citizen to citizen alliance? Reach out to members of the police force and their families and sort of deliberately be kind to them, deliberately engage with them, support them. Because usually when you align yourself with conditions that mitigate or remove the fears of anyone, they tend to align with you. They tend to want you. They want to, identify with you. So whether they're fear motivated or pleasure motivated, so all you just pair yourself, pair your actions with the things that motivate the people, motivate the individual. All right, so if you identify with what will make their life easier, speaking of members of families of police officers and all law enforcement, including the army, and also INEC staff, identify them. In fact, if you like, design the outreach. If these Jehovah Witnesses people, they never give up. They go in twos to homes. That's the kind of thing I'm talking. Go and identify a message, break the messages down. Messages of hope, messages of how things will look different if we have effective policing, if we have effective elections. This may be slow, but I'm just saying that rather than feel powerless and feel helpless and believe that as followers there's nothing we can do, we can actually do this. We can win allies. What happens if a policeman is instructed by hierarchy to look away when people are stealing ballot boxes and he decides to not obey that unlawful order? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. What if it happens in INEC and somebody is told to sort of mess with something so that something wouldn't work, and they refuse to because they know that even if there's a fallout, even if there's a you know, even if there's a retaliation from the boss or sack or whatever thing, that the masses, there are people who will have their back. So things like discounts, free education, scholarships, anything that would support the law enforcement, support INEC staff. So we need to identify them and relate with them. That's the thing, because otherwise you lose them to the grips of the powerful cabals. They are going to fall on one side anyway. So there are still people who may not, who would prefer relationship over money, over monetary inducements. There are people who have conscience still, but they just want to be safe. That's what I'm talking about, building those kind of alliances. So don't minimize what you can do, even as a follower. And I've said this, proved it time and time again. In currently, much of my interest has been, I still retain interest and work in autism, but I've been thinking about the introduction of elementary school counseling in schools in Nigeria. I don't know how that's going to happen, but maybe it is the right thing to do. Because if we as a society, as a nation, we continue to disregard the feelings and emotional life, or emotional challenges of young children at the time when they are just beginning to form attitudes, when they're beginning to sort of, organize their perceptions, have their beliefs set and all of that, and you don't help them. They don't get the support they need at that time. They may succeed academically, like we've seen it, many Nigerians are successful academically, but then, like emotionally and character-wise, you still see challenges, broadly speaking. Let us make sure that not everybody will need the help, but that those who might need the help get the help that they need. Let's provide this kind of services. Other countries are doing it and have been doing it. Nigeria is one of the only, few countries that don't even provide emotional support for emotional learning, emotional intelligence, mental health assistance to young children, especially in elementary school and secondary school. It's very important. We can do that. So I'm saying that because that's also something in my interest areas, right? There are a lot of things. Now, I don't have the funds to make the difference. I'm not in a position to make laws that can do that. I don't even know how to influence decisions to make school counseling happen. But at least I can talk about it. I can write about it on my Facebook. I can organize, I can give ideas to people. I can send out letters, and I'm doing that as well. Just never know. And maybe I can even, one day find myself in a position where I'm in a political position to assist more directly. That can happen. Don't minimize what you can do. Nigeria can only be lifted by Nigerians. I hope this makes sense. I think it does. Enjoy.